Thanks for watching. I've been doing this YouTube channel for maybe 6 or 7 years now, and in the course of doing the channel, I've interviewed many different instructors. I've taken a lot of different lessons, and I've really changed my philosophy recently, just in the last probably 6 months, maybe even 5 months or so, about really what it takes to be better at golf. So the initial launch of Be Better Golf was just to become a better golfer. And I think that I was thinking about how to get better at golf in the wrong way, and I've changed my philosophy on it quite a bit, and I think they can help you out a lot. So this video is about this thing that I've come up with called the Be Better Golf Protocol, and I've been using it on myself and then also on the people who come to Be Better Golf schools and my son, and the difference that I've seen just from changing the philosophy about what you have to do to get better at golf and really what it is to get better at golf has really seen great improvements for the people that are doing it, but it's not easy. So I started noticing a couple of things that were starting to be like funneling, like really common amongst the different golf teachers, that they had different ideas and theories about like how to get someone better, and there's, you know, obviously like a lot of talking and words, but when they wanted on the spot, they wanted the golfer in front of them to get better, like almost every teacher started prescribing like a similar version of the same thing to all these golfers. So basically what that was when I was seeing these teachers and they really wanted the golfer in front of them to get better, I was seeing them always prescribing, hey, slow down and hit like a 7-iron, only 70-yard carry or something, and only swing from here to there. They had different ways of talking about it. All these teachers were talking about just making shots from here to there. And then when I've done so much stuff with Dr. Kwan, who's like the #1 biomechanics scientist in golf, and he talks about the functional swing plane, which is about belt high or maybe slightly higher than belt high. So everything from here below, the golf swing functionally works on one plane here. And there's this funneling effect too, where some golfers are like this at the top, some golfers are like that at the top, and they're both, you know, in the Hall of Fame. But then when you get down lower, now the difference between golfers starts to be a little closer, and the difference between all golfers starts to be a lot closer once you're here. And then the difference between all great golfers here is like, I mean, really small. And then here it's starting to widen again, and then it funnels out to have different finishes this way and that way. This funneling I was seeing in Dr. Kwan's research and working with him and talking about really what matters is the functional swing plane was starting to go along with what I was seeing from all these different teachers when they would try to get golfers hitting shots just from here to there. Things get really confusing with golf, and that really seemed to focus things for me to be like, okay, what is the underlying skill of golf? The underlying skill of golf is to be able to hit the ball and have a really good plane from here through the ball to here and have those kind of alignments. And then in a face-on way, it's to be leading this like a DST, like Birdie says, this leading this through impact. So those two things where you're on plane through the functional swing plane and you're towing the club through impact, TOW, or this is leading it through. And it doesn't have to be this, probably shouldn't be that, but it cannot be that. It has to be some bit of leading, but this will never be effective. So then I started to think about the different types of golf training and what we do to get better at golf. Really wants to get better at golf, what they do is they take a lesson that's like once a week, so that might be like an hour, right? And then let's say that they practice for an hour 3 times a week, and they do deliberate, like really good practice, and then they play twice a week. So that's like 6 days of lots and lots of work. Okay, so that would be like maybe, I don't know, like 1/10%. Like really like few people would be that dedicated to do that much. But there are people like that. I've met a lot of them. But even of those golfers, I wasn't seeing the improvement that you would expect. But when I've been running this protocol and people have been sticking with it, I've seen really great improvements that I would not have expected based off of what they're doing. And then I also did like a lot of chatting with like a certain AI thing about studies about, hey, what has actually shown people to improve their handicap, specifically their ball striking handicap, a lot better in like different studies that they've been doing. So I searched all these different studies, and they kept feeding back different studies, and what I found is I'm like, okay, well, in almost every study that's coming back, I'm seeing these golfers in whatever group it is are getting better. But in the regular world, I'm seeing golfers are not getting better. So I think what the difference is the study itself. Whether it was like, there was a study about using a heavy club, and using a heavy club over a period of time did improve golfers, and their ball striking got better if they used a club that was like 10% heavy and they practiced with that. I saw another thing about the explain-R, and I've heard teachers like talk about how the explain-R works or doesn't work. But the study said, like, hey, if they consistently use the explain-R over a certain amount of time, these golfers got better. I saw studies about a lot of different things and interventions, but like they were consistently getting better. And I started to think, well, maybe it's not the explain-R or the heavy club or any of these things. Maybe it's like just by being part of a group and doing this. And then they did, and in a few of these studies, they had control groups where they came in and practiced. But the control groups didn't, and in a few of these studies, they had control groups where they came in and practiced. But the control groups didn't practice in the same way that the other groups did. And then I saw some memes that really made me start reconsidering what it is to get better at golf. And maybe you don't need as much time, but maybe you need more intensity and more consistency and less time total.
The rule of 100 states that if you spend 100 hours in a year, which is 18 minutes a day, all of us, in any discipline, karate, violin, piano, whatever. If you spend 18 minutes a day, which is 100 hours a year, you'll be better than 95% of the world in that discipline. It's just the consistency of whatever you do more than anything else.
Consistency over time. Oh, and then I heard another meme that said that when you do something and you keep it up consistently over a long period of time, but the consistency of it stays up for a long period of time, that thing that you're doing again and again, that becomes like part of you.
People who get really good at anything just keep reproducing the experience over and over again consciously. And they do it so many times that it becomes subconscious. And the repetition of any action will neurochemically condition your mind and body to begin to work as one. And when you've done something so many times that your body now knows how to do it better than your conscious mind, you've mastered that knowledge.
So if you imagine, like, if somebody has their teeth and they're all messed up, they're turned the wrong way, they're crooked, they're like growing on top of each other, like you can have like a really, really deformed, messed up teeth situation in your mouth. And if they went in and they said to the oral surgeon that they were gonna completely change in one day their mouth, and so then they would have to rip their teeth out, like basically cut their face apart to get their teeth out, then they would have to put them back in, then they would have to sew everything into place. And then you think about, like, okay, now their teeth are kind of aligned. How stable would those teeth be? Compare that to somebody with the same messed up situation in their mouth with the same teeth, where instead of doing it all in one day and mechanically screwing it up, if they just had consistent pressure over time, and that's basically what they do. That's like, so that's braces. So if you think of braces, they have like an ideal that they're going for, okay? Like, this is the face, the teeth are not where we want them to be, and they have a position that they want them to be in. To fix the position, they don't just like cut everything apart, put it to the side, and then jam it back in the right spot. No, they put slow pressure, like consistent pressure over a period of time. And then the teeth, under that consistent pressure, start to come into alignment. It's the mind of the patient and the doctor together, working together to put the pressure in the right direction. But if that is not consistent, it won't work. If you get a retainer, like I've heard they tell you, like, if you don't wear this every night and you don't have that pressure on your teeth all night, every night, it's just not going to get better. And then the retainer you're using actually will not fit your teeth right anyway, and then you've wasted all the money on having this thing made. That means that you have to think about golf more like putting constant everyday pressure on what you're trying to do and doing it in the minimum effective dose. So I've developed this protocol. It's like a checklist that you go through and you do. When you're first doing it, it takes like 25 or 30 minutes. But once you get into the groove of it, it only takes about 18 or so minutes a day. Okay, so a little preliminary result here. Okay, so this is day 2 of me doing the protocol. I did it for, I guess, 35 days, so for 5 weeks without missing a day. Xander and I did it. So you can see the motion there. And just notice kind of the interaction in the ground, and then kind of also the amount of rotation I'm using and the steepness of the angle of both the practice swings and the actual through swing here. Okay. Now this wasn't exactly at the end. This was about maybe 28 days or 27 days in. So you can see the width is different. The backswing is different. That's one thing that I've always had trouble with. It's like my backswing is not, my practice swing is not correct. It's too steep and over. This was actually at LA Country Club when I got to play in the media day for LA Country Club. Yeah, you can see the angle through the ball is much better. And then if I pause that, which I'm not going to do right now, but if I pause the two, I'm much more open in these at impact and through the ball than I was before. And it really translates into getting better. But I'll tell you what, if you miss a couple days, or if you stop and then forget about it, it goes away so fast. So you got to stay on top of it. The checklist is mostly about ball striking, but it can also apply to putting. And I really came to this thought because of how I used to think about my putting. For some reason, I don't know why, but like ball striking has never clicked with me. I've never been a natural at it. I've never been extremely good at it or whatever. But putting, I've always felt in my heart anyway that I've been like a real natural at it and real good at it. And I always felt like if I want to get good at putting, there's just a few things I have to do. Like there's a few drills and things that I do, like leading up to an event or like a tournament, or I've done like a lot of little like putting challenges for cash. And if I'm leading up to that, then there's things that I do, and if I do those things, I will be sharp in my putting, and if I don't, I won't. But I've never had anything like that for ball striking, because ball striking, like in that funneling that I was showing, it seems like there's so many moving parts and so many different pieces. But now with this, I think I've really started to realize what the underlying skill of what you're trying to do with ball striking is. And I think John Rahm has really been a huge part of that, keying people on to like, okay, what like really matters in what you're doing in golf. So Xander and I did this and for 5 weeks, and at the end of the 5 weeks, Xander became like a much better golfer. I mean, that's the advantage of being 11 years old. But he became a much better golfer. He shot twice his best scores ever, and finished second in 2 different tournaments that he had never done that before. And a lot of other things, you know, his improvement was a lot better. And then mine, like I haven't been playing enough golf to really keep my handicap, but at the end of that, like I played golf at TPC Craig Ranch, was right near the end of my 5 weeks, and I had just like one of the best rounds of golf ever, just like hitting the ball where I wanted to on like a course where the slope rating was like 148 or something. So as I was thinking, this is a really hard course, but you're starting to have more fun with golf because you're hitting the ball more solid and you can start to see shapes and things in your mind. So I'm going to go into huge granular detail on how I did this and some before and afters and all that stuff. If you become a member of the Be Better Golf YouTube page, it's a link that is somewhere below where you can become a member here on Be Better Golf, right here on YouTube. And I'll go into like a lot of huge detail into each thing. The most important part though of all this, and that's why I'm talking so much, is that you have to be sold on it. Like if you don't believe it and you don't have your own personal commitment like very high and intensity very high, then it won't work. So for example, like if you're there and I've seen this, if you're there and you go through the motions of doing the drills, but your personal intensity and capturing systems in your brain aren't lit up, then it's basically the same thing as like going for a walk and like burning a few calories. Like there's really no point in it. Your personal attention to detail and consistency and in what you're doing is very important too. Not everybody will have the right kind of personality to get through the protocol, to get through all 5 weeks. Mostly like when I've sent it out to people, they say like, oh, like it doesn't work with their lifestyle. But like golf doesn't really care about your lifestyle if you're gonna get better at golf or not. Like if you're gonna get better, you're gonna have to find a way, just like a woman at the end of every night will like have this like beauty skincare routine that she does. And you know, it takes, I don't know how long it takes. It seems like it takes a long time. So like that is something that they've committed to, and no matter how busy they are, how tired they are, whatever, like they do that every single night. And if they don't, they get like really upset about it. And also they wouldn't be surprised if they'd stopped doing it for a week. They wouldn't be surprised to see their skin like start looking bad. This is super similar. So here it is. This is what I've been doing for 18 minutes every day for 5 weeks, and then you take a break and then you start a new protocol. Like I've seen, like if you try to stretch it out for too long, it doesn't work. I have been thinking and experimenting with thinking about doing 2-a-days, where like you would do it 18 minutes a day, twice a day. It's, I think for like real serious golfers, that might be good. But you wouldn't, I don't think you would actually get any extra benefit from doing like, let's say like an hour a day, or like anything more than what, like once you've gone past the minimum effective dose, you should just then move on to another part of the game, like putting or something like that. I've also finally, I've experimented with doing speed training while I'm doing this. That doesn't work either. I think you need to do pods, where like you would have a ball striking pod, and then separately you would have a speed training pod. But like to do things like that at the same time doesn't work. But I think there probably could be a putting pod at the same time as a ball striking pod. So what you do is, the first thing you do, and this comes from Hugh Marr in England, told me this, and this was one of those drills that I've just seen so many coaches relying on. The first thing you do is you put this club down and you make a line in the mat, or if you have chalk, that's probably better. Or if you're on grass, you can do this. Hugh uses chalk. The first thing you do is you just take swings, a certain amount of swings, probably like, I'm not sure if it's, I think I always do 6. And you're trying to hit on that side of this line. It's hard to see from where you guys are, but, and there's reasons for this, and we can get into the mechanical reasons of why and stuff, and I've talked to teachers, but just do it. So you do that 6 times. Then the next thing you do is you get your most lofted wedge, and you do right hand only, the Be Better Golf way, and hit shots right hand only with your most lofted wedge, short shots, like that, exactly like that. Now when I say the Be Better Golf way, that means you hold the club like this, and see, if I just could do this and hit right hand only, see how much my chest is moving? Not at all, right? So what you want to do is put your fingertips here, and if your fingertips are here, now my right arm is driving it, but my chest is moving. And this comes from every short game instructor I've ever been to. Always has told me, just hit shots one hand only. Some guys do right hand only, John Daly, and some guys do left hand only. And I've had Lee tell me like, okay, why don't you have people do a few right hand only, a few left hand only? But for me, that's not it. I think it's got to be right hand only. I think the trail hand has got to be the thing that you're waking up early in the process here. So then I do 6 of these, and each one gets a grade. So like, if I was going through them and I hit my 3rd one, I'd be like, okay, that's not that good, so that's 2 out of 3. And then I do my 4th one, and I go, that was really good, so now I'm 3 out of 4. I was doing it first with the checklist where I was actually writing it down, but I found it's just as effective just to keep the score in your mind and get like a general sense for how well you're striking it and how well you're going through the protocol, rather than like keeping the score and like trying to like keep a spreadsheet on it. There's things like putting, there's putting things that's really effective for, but for this, I don't think you should focus too much on, oh, my scores aren't getting better, my scores are getting worse. But you should know what your scores are and that your challenge point is correct, and we can talk more about that later. Then the second thing is, and this is just like second nature to me now, like I don't even have to look at the checklist because I know all of it. Then you take 6 shots and you're just trying to hit from belt to belt. And you're doing it this way that I think of all the people like all the different instructors that talk about hitting shots from belt to belt, and that's like most. I think Chuck Cook made a really, probably one of the best explanations when he was on Swing Expedition with Chris Como. So what you're trying to do here is you set up, and if you have 2 yardsticks, that's really good to start. You put one on your heels like this, and then one on your toes. And I'll go more into detail this on the member site, but what you're trying to do is just go to here over the one on your toes, hit the inside of the ball, get the ball starting straight or a little right, and then get it over the one on your heels, okay? Because of we're on an inclined plane and the way through is higher than the way down. So this is lower than this is. So that also means that this has to be more out than this is here. So there's reasons for all this stuff, but basically what you do is get a body-driven motion that goes here to there. So that'd be 2 for 2, and I would keep my score. So with pitching wedge, you're trying to carry this like that red flag is, what is that, 80? I'm trying to carry this like 65 yards, something like that, just over 60 yards. 2 for 3, because that one wasn't good. That one was great. That'd be 3 for 4. So I'm doing that, and you're always monitoring yourself, because the whole point of this, for the most part, is to get a swing that works functionally on plane and is leading it around there. So that's probably going to be a much more body-led swing. So then you do the same thing, that same drill with 7-iron. Okay, so soon after this, the camera died, but I'm gonna go back out and I'll film the entire routine, the entire 20-minute routine. And then also I can help out anybody who wants to see it, because I've seen when people try to do it on their own, it's, for the most part, what you have to fix is that people are they're going from feeling like armpit to armpit, but they're just driving it with only like their arms. Their chest really isn't moving, their hips aren't moving. So I can kind of help you guys along the process. I think it'll be easier. So thanks for watching, everybody. And like I said, I'm starting this new thing that YouTube wanted me to do with the Be Better Golf members page, but it's not going to slow down anything regular. It's really going to be where there's going to be a lot of more granular detail about what I'm doing and the people that I'm talking to. And I think the hardcore subscribers will really like it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye. All right, that was perfect. And the next thing on the protocol is to do the John Rahm drill, which is you take it back what feels like just as short, but then you make a full finish and you try to get the ball to go far. It's a very, very difficult shot, but it's super rewarding when you hit it really good. I hit that one great.